Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Around the Natty podcast. I'm Logan.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we are talking more Cincy sports. So we have a plethora of things to talk about today. Today might be a shorter episode than last week. We went a little long last week, so we'll try to make up for the time lost there by giving you guys a little more brief of an episode here. But the first thing, and you know, Andrew and I talked a little bit in our pre-show meeting about the Bengals, and to be honest with you, we're kind of fired up, so we're ready to jump into it. So let's talk some Bengals coaching.
Yeah, so our coach, we finally got him after the Patriots defeat the Rams in spectacular fashion, or actually the exact opposite, in a 13-3 win. But we got our guy, Zach Taylor. He's in Cincinnati. We had the press conference the other day, and we kind of got to meet him. And what I want to talk about is our first impressions of him, what we think he can bring, maybe some things we didn't hear that we would have liked to have heard, and things like that. And I'll go ahead and start us off here. The man exudes confidence. He came in, and this is one thing they said during the interview process, is he said all the right things and he blew them away during the interview, which I saw in the press conference as well. He said a lot of the things that I wanted to hear from a coach coming in. He answered a lot of the questions that I think a lot of people had coming in as well. And some of those questions were, how's he going to earn the respect of these veteran players, some of which are older than him or around the same age. And I think he laid it out beautifully. He said, if you lay it out and you tell them you're there to help them get better, especially with a team like the Bengals who's underachieved the past 3 years, they're ready to jump on board, and I think we've seen that with McVay, and I hope to see that with Taylor as well.
One thing that, and I hate to deviate from the topic that you began, but one thing that I think is underrated is really what Mike Brown, who we don't hear from often, said, and what he said in the press conference. And when handling the questions about, Marvin in the previous era and the new hiring of Zach, obviously, he had to address those things. But I think the biggest thing to me that indicated a reason for Bengals fans to be excited was he kind of gave nod and special indication to Duke Tobin, who, even though doesn't have the title of general manager, for all intents and purposes is the general manager for the Bengals. And I think it's important going forward for Bengals fans to associate more this new era. They're advertising New Day, DEY. It's no longer going to be the Mike Brown show. And I think that Mike Brown was trying to make that abundantly clear to fans that this is truly a new regime. This truly is new change. And so along with Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin is going to be the forefront of this. And, I think for good and for bad. And I think that Bengals fans will have less of an opportunity to really say, okay, this is, Mike Brown's terrible, this and that. And I think that Mike Brown is doing an effective job of trying to disassociate himself with the day-to-day operations of things and trying to remove that, sour taste from Bengals fans' mouths. That being said, I think it's really important because if Duke Tobin is on board with Zach Taylor, and they, as Taylor talked about communication being so important, if that truly is the case, then going forward, we're going to see a collective and cohesive approach to the draft, to player personnel, to scheme. Players are going to continue to fit, or we're going to continue to acquire players that will fit the scheme, which will make a more effective and more exciting product on the field. I think not only that, but it also allows for Taylor to, as he said, he's going to coach the guys the way he wants to coach them. And, I love, to your point, he says all the right things. I love how he talked about, the Bengals aren't going to be a West Coast offense. They're not going to be the Rams offense. They're not going to be, they're going to be the Bengals offense, and they hope to create something that, other teams mimic. And I think that that level of creativity. While I think you should try to avoid getting cute with things. I think Hugh Jackson did a bad job of that. I think sometimes he got a little too cute. But the level of creativity that looks like it could be there is really exciting for me, and that's kind of my first impressions, not just about Zach Taylor, but about the press conference and from that. And that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, the stadium has been quite empty the past couple seasons. Everybody was restless with the whole, is Marvin going to be here? Is Marvin going to go? And we kind of heard that from Mike Brown as well. There were a couple questions there where the press was prying at him, trying to get some answers as to why now? Why is now the time? And he didn't really want to go into it. He mentioned numerous times that Marvin is his friend and they have this relationship, and they did. But one thing he did mention, and I think this really points out, is the fans have an impact on this team. And a lot of them didn't think Mike was listening or that he cared or anything like that. One thing that's a big motivator for Mike Brown is money and revenue and things like that, which he wasn't getting. So I think this sitting back and being passive is not going to be something that Mike Brown's going to want to do. Again, he's disassociating himself with the day-to-day operations. Obviously, he is still Mike Brown, so he'll try to be as involved as Mike Brown wants to be. But he wants it. He wants the fans back. And I think the best way to do that is to kind of shift over the power to people who understand how the game is changing and the way the NFL is moving away from this old school brand of football to this more renovated, the new NFL, such as the Chiefs and the Rams and things like that, and adapt that to the Bengals' strength. And with this offensive-minded coach who's trying to put together a decent coaching staff, I think he's taken a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, and I think that speaking of offensive-minded coaches and things like that, I think that kind of brings me to the next point I want to talk about is people are already talking about the construction of the roster. Obviously, right now in sports, this is the first weekend without football, so the only thing really to talk about football is, coaching changes, draft, that kind of stuff. I've heard a lot this week on local radio, on ESPN, and other major networks about the prospect of the Bengals drafting, and he's projected to be gone, but Dwayne Haskins, but especially Kyler Murray, who's now decided to attend the draft combine. And to be honest with you, it's infuriating to me as a Bengals fan to even make that kind of suggestion, because I think that where we've made the mistake in years past, including but not limited to Carson Palmer, who, played behind a suspect offensive line for his first 2 seasons, and as a result suffered a pretty nasty knee injury. Why would you waste a first round pick, which, in my opinion, and in the opinion of obviously some of the coaches, including people like John Gruden who trade away all their players for them, first round picks are so valuable. And to put a rookie behind the offensive line as it's currently constructed, as well as with all the gaps we have in our defense in the front seven, whether it's as a result of scheme or otherwise, is irresponsible. Everyone who's saying this, the one thing they haven't answered for me is, what can a rookie quarterback, do to make this team better? And I'd argue that they can. And I think that one of the biggest strengths of this team next year will be the veteran presence of Andy Dalton. And I know he's not the most vocal leader. I know hearing him give a rah-rah speech is sometimes painful, if nothing else. But you've got a guy who's played in the league now for going on 8 years. Okay, you have essentially a first-time play caller. This would be the first time that for 16 games in an NFL season, Zach Taylor's called plays. You need that veteran presence. And you heard last week on the show, Mason Garrison told you firsthand, quarterback competition is not necessarily a good thing. And so when we make that jump, one, we need to know that we have the pieces there to protect our investment in a first-round pick. 2, we need to make sure that he's not going to go off and play baseball. And 3rd, you better be damn sure you're ready to move on from Andy Dalton, because I'm not going to draft a quarterback if I'm not sure that he's our guy going forward, because you have to draft him and say this is our guy and we're going with him, we're riding or dying with him.
Absolutely. And after hearing from Zach Taylor and new OC Brian Callahan, they both have really high opinions of Andy Dalton. And like they said, Zach Taylor said he's been watching film of him since TCU, and he said he ran that offense flawlessly at TCU, and he's been more than serviceable here in Cincinnati, borderline above average. So yeah, I don't think you move on from him. And again, like you said, we don't have the offensive line to protect him. And if you're going out there as a rookie, the game's really fast. Your reads aren't as easy. You find out even the bigger guys are just as fast as you, and things like that. So, we see the success of a lot of these rookie quarterbacks and stuff like that, but those teams are better established than the Bengals are right now. Baker Mayfield, as great as everybody said he's played, that team has a lot of pieces in place. They have basically 10 years of top 10 first round draft picks
on both sides of the ball.
So there's no reason they shouldn't have the bits and pieces in place. I think it's finally they just got everything kind of put together for a 7-win season. Success isn't relative.
Yeah, how about Dan Graziano picking them to win the freaking AFC North next year? Can you believe that? Did you see that?
I don't know.
That's atrocious.
Yeah, the whole
that's atrocious.
The whole Browns phenomena of everybody saying they're. I just don't get it. They won 7 games
and
8
listen,
games.
Cleveland fans, you guys deserve a winning season. Okay, I hope you get it. I really do. But just and believe me, I can commiserate. I'm a Bengals fan. I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. We get it. Okay, we do. But I just don't know how you think you're going to go from, lumping into a 7-1 season to winning the AFC North, which is arguably one of the toughest divisions in football, and it has been for the last 10 years. I mean, you've had, almost half of the Super Bowls in the last 15 years have contained an AFC North team, or at least the AFC Championship games for sure, have almost always been represented with either the Steelers or the Ravens, and so I don't know. That got to me. I'm sorry. I digress. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Absolutely. But again, the Bengals don't have the pieces in place to take care of a rookie quarterback, have a rookie quarterback be able to sit in a pocket and make the plays. And I don't care how good a player is coming out of college. The game's different in the NFL. And, a good offensive line is one way to help ease them into that. We do have good receivers, things like that. But I don't think we're in the position to do that. And I don't think that's the plan for the Bengals here. Zach Taylor, high opinion. Brian Callahan, high opinion. And like you said, Andy Dalton's experience is something that's going to be extremely valuable to these guys, neither of which have had extensive play calling experience. Brian Callahan with 0, and Zach Taylor with 5 games,
right?
In which he went 2-3 with 17 points a game. So we'll see when that comes around. Like I said, I don't see Andy going anywhere. I think it would be foolhardy to see Andy go anywhere. And I think one thing that's going to be great about this coach and these coaches is, I think with their offensive mind, I think they're going to be able to get the most out of our players.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest complaint that I had on offense all last year is it just felt stock to me. It felt like they were like, here's the play. It doesn't accent any of our players' strengths. It's just, if you go out there and run this play, if it's not open, throw it away. And there was nothing that was like, hey, John Ross is really fast. We'll do something to accentuate his speed, or AJ can go up and get the ball, or anything like that. It felt like once we got on the field, none of it translated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that Zach Taylor, he touched upon that, saying that, hey, everyone in the league runs the same plays. Yeah. It's just they run it differently, and the way they utilize their guys can be unique. And if you ever watch any of the ESPN Plus people out there, if you guys are like me and waste $5 your money each month to do that, you can watch Peyton Manning's Detail, which is fantastic. He breaks down quarterbacks and goes through play by play and breaks it all down. It's really cool. But I mean, you see that. I mean, everyone runs the same plays. It's pretty uniform across the board. Now it's how you're utilizing guys, different schemes, different packages. Not putting AJ Green in the freaking slot. Moving him around, getting him finding a way to get AJ Green the ball early and often. To your point, why unless and perhaps John Ross is a track star and not a football player, but how can we not at least find a way to incorporate some of the things that they use in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill? I mean that kid's a track star, and also a football player. Let me add, but I mean they are creative with the way they get him the ball, and even the times where he's getting doubled, they don't go away from him. Patrick Mahomes still goes to him. Andy Reid still drawing up plays and trying to run plays to him. And to some point, obviously you have to limit that. When the New England doubles them an entire game. Obviously to find other people have to step up and make plays, but still, that's what I'm most curious to see is, can we be creative? Can we do what my biggest complaint was with Bill Lazor and before him Ken Zampese, is find a way to get your playmakers the ball. Feed Joe Mixon, who, and I know that we had discussions when watching the games last year. We were complaining about how little Joe Mixon was getting the ball, and yet he still led the AFC in rushing. Imagine if we give him bulk carries, or at least meaningful carries. There's no reason that Giovanni Bernard can't be a part of this offense, and you don't have to take carries away from Joe Mixon to do that. I mean, look at what they do with Brex Burkhead in New England.
All their running backs. I mean, they don't have a running back for any set situation. They just rotate them in there and expect them to do what they do.
Right. And there's one guy, I know I have a Facebook friend who he loves to, every time Giovanni Bernard goes in, he loses his mind. But Giovanni Bernard can be a weapon in this league if used correctly.
Absolutely.
So, you use a second round pick on him. You have him under contract. Use him. That's my thing. And I do want to ask you though. So going back to my draft thing and my rant that I went on a little bit in the pre-show, I would say that it's fair to assume that the Bengals probably go linebacker or offensive line in the first round. If not, I'll kind of be upset. If given those two options, which way do you go?
Let me think here for a minute. I think you go linebacker. And the reason I say that is last year, even with our abysmal right tackle play and our shoddy at best right guard play, in the beginning we were still one of the highest percentage points per game team in the league. And obviously injuries flustered us there. But with me being a Bengals fan and me being frustrated as all belief, the main thing that bothered me was watching how wide open the middle of the field was the whole time.
Yeah.
And our linebackers are tired, they're slow, they're out of shape, and if Nick Vigil's your best cover linebacker, you're in trouble. And there's some really good linebacker prospects in this first round that'll probably go. I would love to see the Bengals get their hands on one. And a lineman, a quality offensive lineman is something that you can find in later rounds.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too. We talked about wanting to spend money in free agency. There are offensive linemen available in this year's free agency. Ryan Khalil, who plays center but could also slide over really easily to right guard. Mike Uapati, I don't know how to say his last name, but
I'm sure you butchered it, but we'll go on.
Right, but guard from Arizona, right tackle Jared Villiere from Denver. I mean, there's guys out there to go get, but they're not going to be cheap, and I think that's something that we have to be willing to spend on, because if we're going to use a draft at linebacker, which I'm perfectly fine with because it's an obvious need, and I think that this year is a very defensive heavy draft.
Yeah.
But we have to go out and address the right side of the line, especially. I felt like for the most part, the left side was stable at least. As long as Cordy was in there,
Let's hope he gets healthy.
Right, stays healthy. And then obviously Clint Bowling's solid.
Yeah.
I think it's from center over that we have the issues. I also, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing them go get a tight end in the second round either.
I agree with that. I would also like to see them sign Tyler Eifert to another nothing deal like they did last year. I don't think he didn't earn much last year. It was pretty much all
pretty team friendly.
It was pretty much all incentive based and pretty safe. And I think he understands that. Going into it, he hasn't played a healthy season since 2015.
I mean, yeah,
and then he hurt himself in the Pro Bowl that year.
Right.
But I agree with you on that point. The draft is one of the better tight end drafts as well, and it's been a while since we've had a consistent tight end. Croft has been great, better than expected.
Yeah.
Uzama, I'm kind of on Uzama.
Right.
Obviously, he's a third string tight end, he should have never played as much as he did. But I think if we just get that one season where Tyler Eifert gets in a groove and makes the plays we know he can make. And last year, before that freak ankle blowout, he was tearing up defenses.
You know what? And honest to God, I think we have the receiving depth now at this point where, you know what? You want to just only play him once we're inside the red zone? Fine. I'm all about it. And that's the other thing, too, is I think that we can help avoid future injury by keeping him off the line, keep him out of run sets.
Absolutely.
Or if he's in a run set, have him split out and spread out,
He's not going to be the guy who go over the middle and get his head taken off and pop back up and jog back to the huddle. He's the guy you kind of want to hit the home run ball with almost, or let him stumble and kind of trip and fall over. Yeah,
corner fade.
Yeah, don't send him over there with those big mean guys in the middle. You want to kind of keep him away with the skinnier guys that he has better matchup on against.
Right.
But that kind of leads me to my next thing, and this is a kind of something I want to go over. I kind of want to go over pros and cons of Zach Taylor and see what your kind of vibe is on what are his strengths and what are some weaknesses that you potentially see here. For me, some pros are Goff's improvement has been phenomenal since he's been there and been involved in the offense, and a lot of that is McVay and personnel and stuff like that, but you got to attribute some of that to Zach Taylor as well. Obviously, Goff's rookie year, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Horrible. Terrible. Garbage. 2017, drastic turnaround. We have 28 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Huge difference. And then we see the elite play that he had this year. Obviously, that's way different. They have a legit running back. They have a legit offensive line. They got a legit defense that gets off the field. And then they got some baller receivers as well. 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Obviously, again, baller offensive roster. But, again, scheme has been great for them. And I think that's in part to Zach Taylor and Sean McVay. So that's great as well. Another thing, I heard from an interview with Zach Taylor. For the Rams, you look at it and you go, how involved is a quarterback's coach? What does he do for the team? He played a crucial role in passing third downs. So scheme, in key situations where you need to get a first down, things like that. He's in there and he's listening to great play callers, design plays that are effective. Obviously, the Rams' offense unreal, effective in getting the ball across the line, and that's one of the areas where the Bengals were horrible. We couldn't stay on the field. We couldn't get first downs. Another thing, and this is kind of my final point here, is in that same interview, it came up that he's willing to challenge his superiors. He's willing to, if he feels passionate enough about it, he'll put his voice in there and he'll let them know what he's thinking. And when I hear that, what comes to mind to me is Mike Brown and that Bengals management, who a lot of fans have said seem reluctant for change or seem reluctant to pull the trigger on a free agent or something like that. I think if Zach Taylor is this guy they're saying in this interview, then he's gonna, if he wants a player in free agency or he wants something done, I think he's gonna go after it and he's gonna tell management, look, this is what we need to be successful. I saw it in LA. So those are kind of my things. What do you got?
So obviously with the stats you cited, I think that it's undeniable that as a staff, the Rams did an excellent job with what they were given and what they inherited.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of Jared Goff's success, aside from his own talent, is as a result of that staff and the job that they did. I think that when you look at it, pound for pound, our receiving group is better.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you have Cooper Kupp
and Brandon Cooks. Yep.
And I can tell you, both of those guys together are not A.J. Green. Tyler Boyd is, I think, every bit as good as Brandon Cooks can be.
I'd agree, especially after the season he just had.
And I think that we've seen if Tyler Eifert's able to stay healthy, he's an extreme weapon. And people have been speaking and really going off about how, based on the Rams' performance in the Super Bowl, Zach Taylor may not be the right hire, because look at what the things first of all, he doesn't call the plays. Okay, he has influence on them. He doesn't call them.
He also doesn't adjust personnel. And I hate to interrupt you, but one thing that bugged the heck out of me about the Super Bowl, why is Todd Gurley on the sideline? Like, I get it. You want to change up the pace.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. C.J. Anderson is nothing compared to Todd Gurley.
And that's one thing where when the game's on the line, and this happened a lot. I mean, and this is where the Facebook friend, I'll go back to him, that always talks about when Giovanni Bernard would give you in the game and he'd be frustrated. When the game's on the line, your best players need to be on the field.
Yes.
Okay, Joe Mixon doesn't stay on the sideline. Todd Gurley doesn't stay on the sideline. No. Your best players are on the field when the game's on the line, and you get the ball to your playmakers. Going back to my point, though.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Going back to my point, I think that if you're questioning now the hire that you made, or that we made, and Zach Taylor after watching the Super Bowl game, one of two things are true. Either one, you don't know anything about football, which is fine. That is what it is. Or two, you don't really understand why you go and hire a coach in the first place. And again, I think it's irresponsible to be questioning the hire based on that. And you and I talked in the pre-show. If you want to discuss his inexperience, the lack of history that we have with his, basically not having a track record as far as calling plays, that's fine. We can have that discussion. But this is the hire that you wanted. We all wanted the new, young, offensive-minded guy. We wanted the new, energetic guy, the guy that was going to bring and change culture. This is that hire. This is the guy that you wanted. And perhaps you were an Eric Bieniemy guy. That's fine. This is the guy you got. He fits the criterion with which you as a fan have put forth. The organization has listened. Go buy your damn ticket. Show up. Be a part of the jungle. And let's go beat the shit out of the Steelers. Pardon my language.
This is the PG-13 rated podcast. I love the passion. I really do. That leads me to my last thing about the Bengals. The defensive side of the ball, which hasn't been addressed in the offseason. To be honest, we barely talked about it this offseason just because of the whole head coach thing. We're without a DC, and the candidates are dropping left and right. Jack Del Rio denied the position. Dom Capers denies the position. Who do we got left, Logan?
So they're interviewing supposedly a lot of people. One such coach is Marquand Manuel.
I'm not going to butcher it. Marquand.
So he was the former defense coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I know what the 25th ranked defense in the league looks like. Okay,
we know what the last ranked defense in the league looks like.
Right. Okay, we've had that with Terrell Austin. Listen, folks, I'm not saying that because you didn't have success in one place, you can't go and have success in another. I mean, look at Bill Belichick, okay? But here's the thing. I'm not comfortable with having a new head coach, a first-time head coach, a first-time play caller on the offensive side of the ball, a defense who was abysmal last season. Which, oh my god, that's the one thing about the Super Bowl that made me mad. I digress here for a second.
Watch how good that defense.
No, Deion Sanders in the post game kept on saying abysmal. It's abysmal with a B.
Yeah, we don't pay him to say words.
Deion Sanders is a goof. And then he was sitting there flirting with people and trying to go to the party instead of doing his job.
He's prime time, baby.
I was getting annoyed. Anyways, the defense was abysmal. Okay, the Falcons were ranked 25 or lower in every statistical defensive category last year, except for turnovers, which they were ranked 15th. Sounds a lot like Terrell Austin's defense. What was the one thing that we said Terrell Austin's defenses did well? They forced turnovers. That's great. Didn't work here. Move on. Next, please. Now, here's the other thing.
I'm freaking loving it.
Here's the other thing. Again, I'm all about new things. I'm all about the unknown and seeing what's there. Why can't we hire? I think that there is still talent on the team. You have perennial all-pro players on that defensive line in Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap. You have a couple of first-round picks in the secondary, 3 as a matter of fact. And I understand that Darquez and
Darquez is 4. 4.
Well,
he's at 1.
That's what I'm saying. He's 1, and
William
Jackson the 3rd, and Dre,
and Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates. That's right. Yeah,
4.
of course. So, and I understand that Dre Kirkpatrick has not been
what we wanted him to be.
Right. I mean, I would say he's not been what we expected, but again, there's talent there, and with a few pieces, and that's my thing. As a coach, I'd be excited to say, you know what, like there's pieces there. I don't know what the hell these other guys are doing, but I'm a genius. I'm gonna come in and fix this.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, man. I don't want this team to be full of Texas A&M guys either.
Yeah.
We already had our offensive line coach they just hired is already from there. He's a goob.
He has not had success in this league. The Miami Dolphins offensive line was garbage. He's toxic to a team.
Right.
I don't want him. But one thing I'll mention is how well the Rams defense played in the Super Bowl. Can we agree on that? You hold the Patriots.
You hold
the Patriots
Tom Brady
to 13 points in a primetime game under the lights. They were lights out. The only reason the Rams lost that game is because the Patriots sucked just a little bit less. You know what I mean? The Patriots offense sucked just a little bit less than the Rams offense, and and they made just a little bit more out of their situations. But with that, one person that the Bengals are interviewing,
DB coach,
that I'm kind of excited about is Aubrey Pleasant, the cornerbacks coach for the Rams. Obviously, he's not Wade Phillips, but anytime you get experience under a defensive guy like Wade Phillips, that gets me excited. And watching how well their corners played, I mean, time after time during that game, I watched Marcus Peters go out and make plays. I mean, they were picking on him all game. They're sending Gronk out there. Edelman's going out there. He's making pivotal plays on third down. One thing that the Bengals lacked. That gets me excited. And he's got the experience. Obviously I don't know about calling plays or anything like that, or calling defenses or anything like that, but I think that gets me excited. That's a successful defense. Obviously they have more pieces than probably we do.
Yeah.
Going out and spending on
Ndamukong
Suh, Peters, and Aqib Talib and all that, but there's no reason the Bengals couldn't be that. We have the guys there.
My question then is do they stick with the 3-4 because that's what Wade Phillips runs? Excuse me. And my question is, and this is kind of fun actually. Can you picture a 3-4 defense with the Bengals? Like I'm trying to think of your interior guys are obviously like Geno.
Yeah.
You can have Willis in there.
Carlos or not Carlos?
I think
Lawson?
yeah. I think Lawson has to stand up. I think Carlos has to stand up. I think Sam Hubbard has to stand up.
I just don't see Carlos being a stand-up guy.
See, here's my thing though. As long as you develop coverage packages to where he's never dropping back, and he's the guy rushing. Now that takes.
Shoot, we had him dropping back. Him and Geno dropping back last season.
Right.
So you know what? Maybe put him out there. Throw him out there. Let's throw him to the wolves.
But I think if nothing else, at least it's interesting. And I think from there, then and I think Nick Vigil moves to more of an interior guy, and I'm okay with that. And then you draft number 1.
Yeah.
And you've got I don't know, man. I can talk myself into it a little bit. Again, I think the question marks are, can Sam Hubbard and Carlos Dunlap stand up? And Sam Hubbard,
honest.
I think I can. I think he can.
Sam Hubbard is a freak athlete.
Yeah.
He's a grown man.
I mean, he got recruited to Ohio State as a linebacker.
Yeah, he was also a safety in high school.
He was a DB in high school, yeah. So I think that the athleticism is there to do it. And I think as long as you draw up schematically things to where you don't have, because I have the utmost confidence that Carlos Dunlap can play in the flat. And the thing I would worry about is that Carlos Dunlap, matched up against a Travis Kelce, for example. That's not going to work.
No, I don't think that's what any defense wants. I don't even think you want like a Von Miller doing stuff like that. Like Von Miller's a freak athlete, but
that's my thing.
You don't want him covering Travis Kelce. He's going to get shredded.
Right, and that's my thing. Von Miller played successfully in Wade Phillips' system. Why can't? Yeah, I mean, I think that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Von Miller being a freak athlete and a once in a generation talent as well.
But I think Carl Lawson would fit well in that scheme.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Sam Hubbard fits well in that scheme.
Absolutely, and they're a future.
Right.
You know what I mean? Carlos not a young man. Gino is not a young man. Like, obviously, we're looking at the future. We want them here. We want them to finish their careers here. But they're not going to be here much longer.
Right. Well, and I think that the 3-4 also fits more of it matches up better with today's NFL.
Yeah.
Where it's such a passing game. I think having another athletic guy that can get up and defend when needed is important. And you saw the Patriots. I know they don't run a 3-4 primarily, but they do mix in a little 3-4. They run a 4-3. Bill Belichick's a genius, but like you've seen them where they go up against rookie quarterbacks and they'll drop. They'll only rush 2.
Yeah.
Like that's. I think that you can do a lot. I think you can get really creative with that.
I think that helps the middle of the field also.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 ways that you help that. I think that you either get better pass rush, and if you decide we can't do that, then you put more guys in coverage and more athletic guys in coverage. You know, and I think that's the 2 ways that you do that. So I think that that's going to be based on scheme. I think 4-3. I think you got to find a way to get to the quarterback, and I think in the 3-4 you just have to have those dynamic players that can get out in coverage. But also rush the passer, and I think that if we can effectively rush the passer and force turnovers this year, I can live with giving up yards and 20 points a game. I think this offense is capable of scoring 28 points a game.
Yeah.
So long as the offensive line gives any time to not eat. Basically take a dirt nap.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you there. But one thing we can both agree on. Keep the Falcons defense out of Cincinnati. For God's sakes, please. No, God, please.
Right. I mean, there's a reason why Dan Quinn's taking over play calling again because that was it was trash.
Poop. All right, and this leads us to our final topic. We're gonna be switching gears here, Logan, and I know you're very passionate about it. So I'm gonna lead us. I'm gonna lead us to kind of keep us level-headed here. Okay. We're going to be switching to some Bearcats basketball. They just recently played Memphis. As of the time of this recording, they played them yesterday. Not a pretty game against a team that probably shouldn't be on par with UC. So I'm going to let you give your thoughts, big guy.
So, first of all, I will say that in UC's defense, I think that Memphis is one of the only teams that has someone that can match up with Jaron Cumberland well. They're the only team that has a wing player that's 1 bigger than him and 2 as athletic as he is, and it gave him problems in the first half. But I think again, this is a game where you come out and this is a middle of the pack American Athletic Conference team in Memphis. Penny Hardaway's team has been characterized by sloppiness. They turn the ball over a lot, and yet we came out looking like the team who averages 12 turnovers a half. Yeah. And we did in the first half. We, for all season long, and I feel like when I watch these games, I wish you could sit with me all the time because I might be the worst fan ever when it comes to the Bearcats basketball, specifically this season. Last year, I felt like every game I was going into it, and I was confident we were going to win each game. This game, as soon as things start going bad, I start cursing, and maybe one time we'll do a live show where we just broadcast each other watching. the UC Bearcats game. I think that'd be fun to like live stream it and just see what happens.
We'll have to delay it and get a censor in there.
Yeah, but maybe we just do like an uncut X-rated version of which one. But
NSFW.
But right, exactly. But I can't. Jaron Cumberland comes out the second half, looks great again. First half, I think he had. I don't think he had
5 points.
Yeah, I think he had 5 points the first half. The ball, like we turned the ball over 12 times. Logan Johnson looked great though. I think it's in the name. Yeah. It's in the name Logan, I think is what it is.
That's right.
His brother actually just got traded, by the way, from the Miami Heat to the Phoenix Suns.
Sad times for your Heat.
Yeah, but it's a rough. I'm a rough time fandom wise all around. But but you know what? I think they come out and to me it's all about defense. Like, listen, Mick teams don't get blown out.
Yeah. They don't score more than.
But the first half, that didn't look like a Mick Cronin coach defense.
No.
It was sloppy. It was bad. We weren't able to get any kind of points in transition. Half court wise, the shots weren't falling, and that's going to happen from time to time. But you've got to, you really have to find a way to fight through those times, and I think it's with good defense. And I think in the second half they came out and did a great job. They started closing out better. The kid, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but the wing player, number 5, Martin gave UC all they could handle last night. I mean, he was
raining threes.
I'm pretty sure he was like 7 of 9.
He had 40 points the week before.
Yeah, the kid was just going off.
He's raining threes.
And once we started closing out better, our rotations were better. We started winning those 50-50 balls. We were forcing turnovers. We're getting points in transition. Jaron Cumberland finds his shot. And I think that this offense really lives and dies on the ability for Justin Jennifer and Jaron Cumberland to drive into the paint and then distribute from there. The question is, in the NCAA tournament, what's going to happen, and in the conference tournament, what's going to happen is teams are going to double Jaron Cumberland as soon as he comes up the floor.
Yeah.
Are the other guys going to be able to hit from outside? And last night they couldn't, and it was painful to watch. This is probably the best offensive team I've seen probably ever in my lifetime that I can remember with UC. But gosh, they have to be the most frustrating team I've ever watched too.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I think the first half for them was lazy. Obviously, with 10 turnovers, that's not good basketball. That's not Mick Cronin basketball. I think slowly into the second half, they got working. They started playing that brand that they're used to playing. They play tough defense and they force turnovers and I mean, at one point they were on a 12-0 run, and that's how you go from being down as much as 11 to being up as 8? What were they up 8 at one point? You don't do that with lax defense, and they got second half and they clamped down and they started forcing some turnovers, and obviously they weren't shooting well.
Right.
Yesterday they didn't shoot well all game. In spite of a few good shots.
At the free throw line either, might I add.
Oh my gosh, it was abysmal, or dismal as you like to say. But yeah, they started playing their brand. I mean, they would launch them up there and they wouldn't hit, and next thing you know, somebody's under the rim. They bring down the rebound and just get them second chance points that are so crucial to their success. And you saw it late, and again, Cumberland and Jennifer, Cumberland with ice in his veins, goes in there and wins the game for the Bearcats. And obviously we want him to play a little bit better in the first half, but coming on late like that and being the clutch player that he is definitely something that it's nice to have. And I was saying jokingly yesterday, maybe they should just launch the ball at the rim and get some. Yeah,
Logan Johnson could get the rebound and
get like some 3 or 4 guys down there and grab it and put it up, but. I saw some good ball movement. I saw some good off the ball screens and stuff like that. So there's definitely hope that this team can be a legit contender in the conference and in tournament play. So
yeah, well, and I'll end the UC talk on these thoughts. I think that we've become spoiled as UC fans in recent years.
It's weird to say a Cincinnati fan is spoiled.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, you're right. And what otherwise should be considered a rebuilding year, a year where you are coming off graduating or moving on from Gary Clark,
Jacob Evans,
and Kyle Washington. this is, again, for all intents and purposes, a rebuilding year, and you're a win away on Sunday from being in firm control of winning the AAC. You're a top 25 ranked team in the nation.
Yeah.
You have a chance. You know what I really hope happens? I hope that we end up getting like a 7 seed, and this has never happened to UC.
That's what we're projected at.
But I hope we get the 7 seed, and then the 15 upsets the 2, which has happened in the past. Then we get to play the 15 in the second round, because I would love to make it through the first weekend of the tournament for once. I mean, it hasn't. Listen, it hasn't happened. Okay.
Dude, last year it destroyed me. It forced me to drink and cry in my bed at night.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna do that tonight. I'm gonna do all those things tonight. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no. And so I'm just really excited to see what happens there. I think that this team, there's no reason why they can't do that. I just don't have the same kind of confidence that I had last year, and for good reason. I mean, graduated 3 guys that were huge factors in this team's success.
Which are in the NBA, contributing. Right,
and especially Gary Clark, who I think should have been the player of the year last year. But that's I'm biased. But that's all I have for UC Bearcats.
Me
Andrew,
too,
you have
man.
anything to add?
That's it, man.
Right. Well, I think we're getting to the point now where we promised you we'd end a little bit sooner than we did last week. So we'll leave you with that. A lot of Bengals talk this week. A lot of UC. Obviously, we have a lot of Reds to look forward to. Spring training's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Opening day is, I think, 49 or 50 days away at this point.
March 28th, baby.
Okay, so we're getting there. Ready to see some Puig dingers and Great American.
Some stellar pitching.
some major Ks. And I was looking at the projected. And sorry, real quick before we go. I was looking at the projected starting rotation, and if DeSclafani is our 5th starter, I'm okay with that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, again, I digress. Guys, please go and follow us on Twitter. It's at _underscore Nati. So it's at around _ Nati. We want to interact with you guys on Twitter. We want to get your questions. We want to field those here on the show. We love your feedback. So please, on the video itself, leave comments.
Please, yes.
You can ask questions there. Give advice for improvement. We're happy to hear those things, and we want to provide quality content. And we really want to talk about what you guys want to hear about. So, obviously your feedback is essential for that. But aside from that, Andrew, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I posted a poll this week about platforms you guys wanted to see, and we got some good input, and obviously YouTube was the big one. Spotify and iTunes are not far behind, so that's definitely something I'm gonna put on the front burner for us. Something I'm gonna be working on here in the next week or so. I got some things I got to do next weekend, so. We may be missing one next week because I will be out of town. But getting it on Spotify and iTunes is something that I'm going to focus on just because it's a little bit easier for you guys to listen. You don't have to keep your phone open or sit on a computer or something like that. So that's definitely something I want to get done. So other than that, again, please like our videos. Please comment. Please subscribe. It'd mean a lot. We definitely love to interact with you guys as well, like Logan said. But other than that, I think that's it for me.
Yep, that's all I got. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, send good feelings to your Bearcats this weekend. Take on Houston Sunday. Big game. Basically battle for number 1 place in the AAC. Let's go get a dub.
And pray we don't get the Falcons DC.
Amen to that, brother. All right, folks, it's been great and wonderful. We hope to see you around the Natty.